Hi, this is Rob. I'm going to show you how to do slow motion with your GoPro videos using recording frame rates and using the GoPro Studio Software. I will also demonstrate how to make only part of your video to be in slow motion. There are two methods to create GoPro slow motion videos. First method is to adjust the settings of your video in GoPro Studio, and the second method is to use the Flux option in GoPro Studio. I will cover the first method, adjusting the settings of the video. However, both methods begin with recording your GoPro videos with higher frame rates. I'm using the GoPro Hero5 Black camera, but you can use this slow motion effect with any GoPro camera. Parts of this tutorial was recorded while connected to the GoPro Capture app. If you want more information on the GoPro Capture app, I'll put a link in the description below, or you can click on the information card in the above right. If you know you're going to want to produce a slow motion video, or you know you want some part of your video to be recorded in slow motion, then you need to shoot your video at higher frame rates. On the GoPro Hero5 Black, there are different choices of frame rates depending on which video resolutions you are shooting. Let's take a look at the different frame rates that are available at each of these video resolutions for the Hero5 Black. For 4K video, you have 30 frames and 24 frames per second only. Thus, I would not recommend shooting video in 4K that you want to do in slow motion. 2.7K. These are the frame rates. For the best quality slow motion video, you want to choose a high frame rate that you can cut the frame rates into halves to get you to 30 frames per second or 24 frames per second. If you want to shoot 2.7K, then I would shoot at 60 frames per second to later reduce it to 30 frames per second, or shoot at 48 frames per second to later reduce it to 24 frames per second. Or you can think about it as multiples of 30 or 24. Multiples of 30 are 60, 90, 120, and 240. So look for those frame rates if you want your final video in 30 frames per second. If you want your final video in 24 frames per second, then look for multiples of 24, which are 48, 120, and 240. 2.7K, 4:3 aspect ratio. You can only shoot at 30 frames per second, so that is not a good choice. 1440. Here are the frames per second at 1440. We have 80 frames per second, but I would not choose that because it's not a multiple of 24 or 30. So I would choose shooting here at 60 or 48 frames per second. 1080. This is one of my preferred video resolutions for shooting slow motion. Here I would shoot at 120 frames per second. The 120 frames per second can be reduced to either 24 or 30 frames per second. Resolution 960. The choices are 120 or 60 frames per second. Resolution 720. Here's where we can get super slow motion by choosing 240 frames per second. This resolution at 720 and the next one and last one at 480 are the only resolutions that the Hero5 Black offers 240 frames per second. Resolution 480. You only have one choice, 240 frames per second. Okay, quick review about choosing which frame rate for your slow motion videos. If you want your final video at 24 frames per second, then shoot your video at 48, 120, or 240 frames per second. If you want your final video at 30 frames per second, then shoot your video at 60, 90, 120, or 240 frames per second. Okay, let's bring a video into GoPro Studio. I will import a video that I shot at 720p resolution at 120 frames per second. Next, I will trim my video to the part I want. I will have my video start here. Now continue to play the video and pick the end of my video. I will choose this spot as the end of my video. Now we're going to go into the advanced settings here. This window pops up. I'm using Windows. If you're using Mac, the window that appears on your screen may be different. Here's where we're going to change the frame rate. And since I shot this video at 120 frames per second, I can choose a frame rate of 24 or 30 frames per second because 120 is a multiple of either 24 or 30. Or you can say both 24 or 30 divides evenly into 120. I'll go down and choose 30 frames per second, and I'll set my quality to high and click on OK. Now we'll click here to add the clip to the conversion list, convert the clip. The clip is finished converting. Click here for step 2, Edit. Click on the video to bring it to the main window. Now click step 3, Export. This window pops up. I'll click on 720 resolution, since that is the resolution that I recorded the video. And you see over here the frame rate 29.97 or 30 frames per second. I'm just confirming that is 30 frames per second because that is what we selected in the advanced settings earlier. Now we just need to export the video by clicking on this blue export button. Choose a name for your video, and if needed, export folder. Click Save. The video is exporting. Let's take a look at the video. Notice how we still had sound with this video? The sound was also in slow motion, but we could hear the sound of the golf club striking the golf ball. That is one of the advantages of using this method, the advanced settings method, to convert your videos to slow motion. The other advantage of using the advanced settings method is that we now have the video encoded at 30 frames per second, and we can drop this clip in other video editing software that does not allow mixing video clips at different frame rates. Let's say you only want to slow down only part of your video. I'm going to import the same video, shot at 720 resolution at 120 frames per second. Add the clip to the conversion list. Convert the clip. Go to step 2, Edit. Drag the clip to the timeline. Now you should do any adjustments to the video now, such as white balance, saturation, etc., because we're going to split the clip and you don't want to repeat your adjustments multiple times. Now we'll go to the slider and set the beginning of the video. I'll start the video here and click on this beginning trim point button. Now I'll use the slider and go to the point in the video where I want to apply slow motion. I want to start my slow motion here, so we'll click on the split button to split the video into 2 parts. Now go to where you want the slow motion to stop. I want to finish the slow motion at the end of my golf swing. Click the split button again. Now we have 3 sections of the video, and we want to apply the slow motion to this middle section. So click on that middle section, and you will see this yellow border around it. On the right pane of the GoPro Studio, we want to go to Video Controls. I want to click on this Divide by 2. The first time you click on it, you are setting the slow motion at 50%. I will click on Divide by 2 again. Now the section of the video will be slowed down to 25%. We want to uncheck this Enabled Flux box. This is not a type of video that will work well with Flux. Flux analyzes the footage frame by frame, inserts new frames as needed, and blends them all together to smooth out the action. The downside to using Flux are that export times are going to be significantly longer as a result of the extra processing GoPro Studio has to perform. We're ready to go to step 3 and export. Since I recorded this video at 720p, I can choose Custom or 720p here. If I choose 720p, I want to make sure the video renders at the frame rate that I want. If I choose 720p, it will render this video at 60 frames per second, but I want 30 frames per second, so I'm going to choose Custom. At Custom, the frame size is what I want, 720p, but I need to change the frames per second to 30. Click on here and choose 29.97. We're ready to export. Click the blue Export button. GoPro Studio has finished rendering the video. Let's take a look at it. Here's the slow motion part. Notice that there is no sound during the slow motion part. That is one disadvantage when using this method. Okay, that is it. That is how to make slow motion in your GoPro videos using the GoPro Studio Software. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to this channel.